This was just typical boring 80s opening credits with fish doing fish things in the aquarium. I don't know where you're getting into this. Like, yes, it could have been more creative, but I don't think it was pornographic.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Hold on a minute. What was that middle thing?
Which part?
What was that middle thing?
Oh.
I gotcha. I can't believe I gotcha.
Wow. And each week, we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, we'll cover one, and choose one for yourself. Please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all our information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are you reviewing today?
Gene, I'm very excited for tonight's film. We've mentioned many times before that for some reason, the English, we have a large following, and they seem very devoted. They're active. They call in. They write in. They get upset at things that I say. They get upset at reviews that we make. So we've done quite a few English films, specifically within London. We've done Notting Hill. We did Werewolf in London, Dracula for a little bit, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. We did The Long Good Friday. We've also done...
Four Weddings and a Funeral?
Yes, Four Weddings and a Funeral, correct. So tonight, I was excited to go back. London, great city. Not so much for film, but we're going to see if tonight can buck that trend. And our great listener, John S., with his third commission, previously done Major Payne, also Clue was a co-sponsor. And tonight's film, he wanted us to go back to 1988 and review the British-American heist comedy, A Fish Called Wanda.
Excellent choice, John. A Fish Called Wanda is a 1988 heist comedy directed by Charles Crichton, who co-wrote it with John Cleese. It stars Cleese, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Kline, and Michael Palin. The film follows a gang of diamond thieves who double-cross one another to recover stolen diamonds hidden by their jailed leader. This picture grossed over $188 million worldwide, becoming the seventh highest-grossing film in 1988, and received 3 nominations at the 61st Academy Awards: Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor for Kline, which he would go on to win. A spiritual sequel called Fierce Creatures was released in 1997, and the British Film Institute ranked A Fish Called Wanda the 39th greatest British film of the 20th century. So Big D, I was only 8 years old when this movie came out. We'll start with your memories of A Fish Called Wanda.
So on Holy Grail, the review, I mentioned before 85, when MTV started airing the reruns of The Young Ones, I only knew Benny Hill. My exposure to British comedy was very limited. So at that point, I started watching some of the Monty Python, the movies, the Flying Circus. But when this film came out in 88, I was not interested in watching it. The plot seems, it's very adult. It's not as goofy as a lot of their films. And I didn't want to watch some heist film with some marital, problems. It was not something I was going to watch because 88, it was a kick-ass year. You mentioned its place in, I think you said 7 for worldwide box office, but domestic. I was going to go see Roger Rabbit, Coming to America, Big, maybe even Crocodile Dundee 2. You had Die Hard came out, Cocktail, Beetlejuice, Willow, Rambo 3, Bull Durham, Twins, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and Young Guns. So this was a great summer. I could not see myself making time to be like, yes, I got to go see A Fish Called Wanda. And first of all, not that it was even like what the subject was, but a movie named A Fish Called Wanda, that would not have gotten me into the theaters.
Like you, Big D, I also did not see A Fish Called Wanda when it came out. I didn't see it in the 80s. I didn't see it in the 90s. I didn't even see it in the early 2000s. But one by one, as I grew older, I started to pick up that I liked some of these actors, right? John Cleese. I started to understand who he was. Jamie Lee Curtis. I understood who she was. Kevin Kline. And so finally, the point came where I was living in Ohio. And as you can imagine, living in Ohio, my late 20s, lots of free time on my hands to watch movies. There's not a lot going on at night in Lima, at least nothing that you'd want to be part of. So I gave this movie a shot. And I discovered that it was very funny. And only a few movies of this vintage make me laugh this hard. We're talking like 86 to 90. There was Spaceballs, UHF, Three Amigos, and basically this, right? And none of the other ones were this grown up in their comedy. You're absolutely right, Big D. Spaceballs, parody movie. UHF, Weird Al being zany. Three Amigos, three big comedians in a far-fetched plot that is not at all grounded in reality. And then we had this, A Fish Called Wanda. And I got to say, it's just as funny as the other ones. Let's hit the trailer.
Otto is a man of many talents.
Hey, great fish.
Oh,
Little squeeze of lemon, some tartar sauce.
Ken is a man of few words.
tell him from me.
George is the man with the plan.
13 millions, my friends.
And Wanda
Do you speak Italian?
Molto pericolosa.
is the woman they love. They all set out to commit the perfect crime.
To 20 million.
To a job well done.
But it turned into something
George moved the loot?
less than perfect.
Disappointed!
So they turned to a lawyer named
Archie Leash.
Leech. George is going to tell him what the diamonds are.
with Wanda as the bait.
I want you to make love with me.
Pop. Nothing.
He's really hooked.
I thought you weren't jealous.
I'm not. I don't believe in jealousy. It's for the weak.
Come a girl as bright as you could have a brother who's so...
Don't call me stupid.
I'm really, really sorry. I apologize unreservedly.
Are you totally deranged?
You're afraid so, old chap.
John Cleese,
Will you leave immediately, please?
Jamie Lee Curtis,
Kiss me there.
Kevin Kline,
Put the other one up.
Michael Palin,
May I kiss you, Ken?
No, you can't!
A Fish Called Wanda. A smashing
Oh, dear.
comedy.
London gangster George Thomason and his right-hand man, Ken Pyle, pull off a heist with two Americans, con artist Wanda Gershwitz and weapons expert Otto West. Wanda and Otto are lovers, but pretend to be siblings so Wanda can work her charms on Ken and George. Wanda and Otto betray George to the police and try to keep the loot from themselves, but George has moved it to a safe deposit box and given Ken the key. Wanda sees Ken hide the key in his fish tank, steals it, and conceals it in her locket.
So at some point, I've seen this film on VHS, but it never really stuck with me. It was probably one of those films I watched in the background. So it starts out, it opens up, and we're getting to meet through the opening credits. We're going to see the main human cast. We're going to see London. And quickly, it transforms, Gene, into this weird... I had to look up. I'm like, okay, let's see. Are there people who are big fans of collecting exotic fish? I'm going to look them up. So they're called aquarists. And these are people who like to take care of the fish, clean the tanks, reorganize, design their aquariums. And this opening, I know you're going to call me crazy because you think I see shit in all these movies, but it transforms into some aquarist porn. It's for the people who love fish or they're trying to demonstrate how Wanda the fish is going to be such an integral part of the film. But they introduce Ken, and he's feeding the fish tank, and it starts off where you're seeing the fish, and the fish are coming in and out. Then there's like a romantic, jaunty Spanish guitar song, and I'm like, what is going on? So the fish go from just swimming in a tank, and Gene, this thing goes on for almost 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So this is not something that I'm just like making up. It starts where the fish are swimming. They're kind of flaunting. They look like they're sassy fish. They start to frolic. Then the fish start doing things that they're making them look like it's sexual. They're going in and out of a rock formation. It looks like a penis going in and out, whether the film is looped, but they're going in and out. Then the sucker fish came out, and there's like a bass line to the song. It's erotic in some way, and I there's a lot of fish being stimulated, and it's very, very strange. But I found it funny.
It's been a long time, Big D, a long time since we had a Big D tinfoil crackpot theory. I agree with you. This scene went on very, very long. And I agree with you that it was sort of pointless and that the music was odd. But this was just typical boring 80s opening credits with fish doing fish things in the aquarium. I don't know where you're getting into this. Like, yes, it could have been more creative, but I don't think it was pornographic.
Well, what I mean is like cable porn. Like I like cable porn because I'm an organizer of cable. So I like videos of
that
running
kind of cable porn.
That kind of, yes.
Yeah,
so I think this was for the audience who might be horrified later on, by what happens to some of the animals and some of the fish. There were people who got, Fish Called Wanda. I'm going to go see it. And they see this and they're like, oh my God, look at that beautiful lionfish. Oh, look at that fish. Oh, this is a great setup.
It's marketing. They were like, we'll call the movie A Fish Called Wanda. We'll get all the aquarists to come out and see it. Give them what they want early on, and they won't be really horrified until Kevin Kline starts eating the fish.
No, they could analyze what type of filter is set up, the rock formations. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You got to make them happy before they riot.
Right. But thankfully, Big D, after the aquarium scene, we get to meet a few of the characters, we get to set up for the heist, and we move straight into it. And there is a temptation in comedies to make every scene a buffet of jokes. And it can work, like in Spaceballs, or it can backfire, like in Airplane. In A Fish Called Wanda, they showed incredible restraint in zipping through the heist without spending too much time in yuck goofiness, right? I could see a lesser movie making this whole thing silly, everybody fucking up, no one knows how to do their jobs. And yes, you get Archie setting up a banker for like some William Tell Apple shooting, but the film does not linger on this too long. They're pretty competent as thieves, right? They get the guns out, they get the loot, down the escape, change their clothes twice, switch vehicles so nobody can tail them. The robbery is quick. It's clever. They even throw in like the glass breaking thing to leave a clue there. And it propels us directly into the events that follow. And then the comedy is delivered with patience.
And I was worried because we meet Ken and they're going to liberally use the stuttering.
Yes.
And they say, we don't talk in the break-in. I'm like, I know something's going to happen where somebody needs information from Ken and they're going to get stuck there. But you say these guys are competent. To me, this entire break-in, it was filmed like Return of the Ninja. They're in almost ninja outfits. There's the crossbow, the action and the shaky cam. They're up on the rooftop. This could have been the final scene of the ninja movie we reviewed.
Yeah, but nobody was throwing smoke bombs, and I don't think there was any zip line, so they didn't really do that.
There was no robot ninja. They didn't carry in a robot, burglar into there. But as we meet the cast, I'm more familiar with them after seeing the various movies they've done, the TV. We've reviewed them many times here on Shat the Movie, and I'm just shocked after watching this and researching it that Kevin Kline won an Oscar for this role. But okay, I'll take it. It was it was kind of a weird year of who was up for it. He was up against, like Alec Guinness, Martin Landau, River Phoenix, who I think probably would have gotten one. It was for Running on Empty. And then Dean Stockwell for Married to the Mob. So he comes in, it's a different film, but that's not what I'm paying attention to here. I have to admit, he's sexy. He reminded me of the epiphany we had with Steve Guttenberg in Police Academy, where Mahoney's working out. He's got on those little jean shorts. He's toned. He's got the abs. He's got just enough hair. And I'm thinking this is up there. You got Jeff Goldblum of this time frame. Tom Selleck, more overt. He's 80s heartthrob, body, charisma. There's a natural intuition he has for delivery of when to physically move on a woman. When, like in romantic scenes, he looks capable. He's a little dangerous. He's like an animal. He's unpredictable. He's not the brightest, but you can't take your eyes off of him. He was charismatic.
You forgot the terrific mustache and the terrific style.
Yes.
Big D, I'm increasingly finding myself understanding of 80s cinematic fashion. You've probably witnessed this transformation that's really come over me. Sarah calls it jokingly the dadification of Gene, right? But it's a few more ball caps, the mustache, the clothes, they're cut a little more, generously, not because I'm getting bigger, but because it feels nicer. And it's a little more flattering, right? Kevin Kline, he's throwing things together in this movie that don't make any sense, but it's so 80s and it's so good. You would not think, listeners, that a ball cap, suspenders, pleated trousers, a striped shirt, and a necktie would work together with like a long overcoat, but it somehow does. He looks great. He looks good. And Big D, you're totally right. There's a scene where he comes swinging in off a bar and lands with his legs like spread eagle right in front of Jamie Lee Curtis, and I would have gone for it.
Yeah, there's actually a trend. It's called the sexy dad, where there's characters in films that are the single dad who's hot. Obviously, they're unnaturally physically fit, and there's a whole genre out there. Like, so I found an article where it was a reporter who had mentioned that when she was a young girl of only about 11 or 12, she saw this, and it started her infatuation with that type of character and Kevin Kline specifically. But all these guys had decent bodies. I was shocked that John Cleese, when he takes his shirt off at the end, it's not Brad Pitt, but it's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yeah, I think increasingly, I get the John Hamm, the John Cleese, like that body, right? It's not like that's a realistic goal, right? It's like you look good, you look fit, you're not Jean-Claude Van Damme, you're not Arnold Schwarzenegger, you just look, pretty good. And to add to that, Otto is employing this fake Italian. Like he's basically just saying the words of the names of foods. And Jamie Lee Curtis has this kink, right? She has a language kink. And I remember when I was younger, right, knowing that my first language was Farsi, knowing that I'm, clearly Persian. People would say, "Oh, like say something to me," like you'd be making out. "Oh, say something to me." And the problem is that my Farsi, it's only stuff I learned from my mom, right? I mean, I'm fluent. I know the full language. I can speak at an adult level, right? But I never learned dirty stuff. So and then just reminds me of my mom. But I was wondering, Big D, with you, I mean, being married to a Brazilian and having your, let's say, kaleidoscopic experience with women, any sort of a language kink? Do you like the Portuguese, or does it not do anything for you?
Oh, no, it does. It does.
Oh, really?
Yes, there's like bedroom talk in Portuguese. There's definitely something. I think Portuguese as a whole is a beautiful language. I can't imagine what bedroom talk in Russian would sound like, but I would probably imagine that it would sound very aggressive. It wouldn't sound.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think German as well. I think German. You listen to anything like Rammstein sings, or none of it sounds very friendly. It sounds aggressive. But yes, Portuguese. It's even the meu Deus, oh God, even oh God sounds better in Portuguese.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, to learn where the safety deposit box is, Wanda seduces George's barrister, Archie Leach. That's a lawyer for you Americans. He quickly falls for her, but Otto's jealous interference causes their liaisons to go disastrously wrong. When Wanda accidentally leaves her locket at Archie's house, his wife Wendy finds it and delightedly assumes it's a gift for her. Archie fakes a burglary to get it back, but Otto mistakes him for an actual burglar and beats him up. Realizing he'll be unable to give Wanda all she seeks, Archie calls off their affair. Otto tries to apologize to Archie at gunpoint, and an eavesdropping Wendy learns of her husband's infidelity.
So I want to apologize to John S. and our listeners if I make this entire podcast about eroticism, whether it's fish or human, or the hotness of Kevin Kline. But I got to do it. Jamie Lee Curtis. If you went to somebody who's a fan of 80s and 90s movies and said, okay, let's just say Gene. Hey, Gene, how you doing? Hey, water cooler talk here. We're working together. Hey,
good to see you. How was your weekend?
We're hanging in there.
Working hard or hardly working?
Getting by. Another day fighting the good fight. But Gene, when you think back to the 80s, what do you think of for sexy actress?
Yeah, it's gonna be Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, it's gonna be like Kim Basinger, Daryl Hannah, Phoebe Cates, Heather Locklear, Kelly LeBrock, something like that. But as we go into the pantheon of Shat and we're watching movies, undoubtedly Jamie Lee Curtis has to be on this list. And she's not what you would normally think. because she comes in with like shorter hair. She doesn't look like the artificial pinup girl, but I think she's got to be up there because if she's not traditionally beautiful, there is something where she is the every girl. She's the very attractive, realistic every girl in our life. And this movie made me think she's a sexual chameleon. She has the ability to transform into the desire of any guy on screen. Trading places. She plays Ophelia. She's a smart prostitute. She's funny. She's able to blend in. She eventually seduces somebody from the higher class who's wealthy. She can fit in, super attractive. Then we did, what was the jazzer, the exercise? Perfect. There, of course, you can see the body. You can see her up on stage. She's comfortable. She's got great rhythm. Here, she's able to manipulate her physical appearance. She transforms into, at the same time, she could seduce a barrister who's stuffy and English. She could seduce a serial killer. It's like True Lies. When she takes the glasses off and she puts her hair down, you know she means business. She could seduce anyone. And there's a scene where she needs some information about Ken and he's stuttering. She kisses Ken and it cures his stuttering. I believe this woman has that power. She is incredibly sexy for anyone of any background, any desire, any kink.
And man, aside from having a banging body, she can kiss. You mentioned that kiss with Ken. You get to an age, Big D, especially when you're married, that kisses, they're normally kind of sweet, right? It's a kiss here, it's a kiss there, breakfast, waking up, leaving the house, whatever. Every time you pass by, a little kiss here, a little kiss there. Those hot, heavy ones, like suddenly those are only happening like mid-coitus. You're not just making out in the kitchen, right after dinner. But Jamie Lee Curtis, man, I noticed my mouth was involuntarily open while she was making out with guys in this movie. And I looked down and Sarah's asleep. And I swear, if she hadn't fallen asleep, I think we would have ended up making out like teenagers just from the heat coming off of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, I was going to start out by saying I thought it was pretty bad because she is making out first with George, right? George is the boyfriend or the head, the guy in the gang. And it was kind of subdued. It was kind of a little filmy. And I was like, this isn't. Once Otto gets in there, she like does the move where like she sucks on his tongue.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite invigorating.
So nobody could blame Archie, I guess, for falling here for Wanda. But earlier this afternoon, you messaged me with Archie needed to set his wife free. And I replied, nobody deserves to be cheated on, but Archie's wife, Wendy, is a fucking asshole. And I think we can leave this up to the listeners. I propose that we have an Instagram poll and people can vote on it, whether that Archie needed to set his wife free or that she was an asshole. But let's at least present our arguments here on the podcast, okay? Archie's wife, Wendy, she is rich. She doesn't appear to have a job. She just kind of exists and is rich. And yet she still complains about her day, about inane shit, and she ignores everything Archie has to say, right? She leaves for the ballet and she says supper is in the fridge. He looks in the fridge. It's like a sad pie and like some celery, cold, okay? Meanwhile, Archie is out there as a top barrister in London, working hard, winning cases, and instead of celebrating her tall, fit, rock star barrister husband, she only talks about herself and what she considers awful developments like chipped cups. When he tries to do something nice for her, like make tea, she zips in and does it herself. Why? Because he took too long. What was he doing? Talking to their daughter. He's trying to be a good dad and a good husband, and all he's getting is the cold shoulder.
So I think here's the problem, Gene. We're getting a window 15 years into this. So they lead us to believe right away. I wrote down, poor Archie. Why doesn't his wife care about he won the big case? Yes, I think at this point, I feel bad. You're thinking Archie, he's out there, he's fighting the good fight. He's a big time barrister. He's making a difference. But as we go further and further into it, I'm starting to think that at some point in their relationship, you mentioned the passion, the kissing. Later on, we see that Archie is completely capable of turning it on. He says something like, I'm good in bed. He wants to do it on the rug. He has the potential, but he's completely shut it off to his wife. And I'm starting to realize it is one-sided even to this point. They do a neat thing where they're cutting back and forth between the old couple, Archie and Wendy, and then the hot couple where you have Otto and Wanda. And Otto is like playing with her legs. He's playing hide and go seek between her thighs and he's going down on her. And there's a lot of peekaboo action going on behind her legs. And again, I'm thinking, wow, this is just showing how a married life devolves sexually to roommates and friends. But no, Wendy starts giving us information. They're changing next to each other. She's there. She does a weird thing because Otto, at that point, Archie is disrobed and she coyishly like pulls down her panties slowly and then just like throws them into the corner. She gets into bed and she says, good night, Archie. And he's like, oh, excuse me. And she's like, good night. And then he says it back. When he gives her that necklace, she's floored. And he mentions, to get out of the being trapped in the room, let's go to a pub. And she's like, Archie, you haven't taken me to a pub in 15 years. This is the most wonderful gift you've ever given me. Thank you very much. This is a woman who has everything, financial means. That her husband has not made an effort, an olive branch in 15 years, tells you that this shield you're seeing, Gene, this coldness where Wendy deserves to be cheated on is her defense against Archie's just obliviously ignoring her.
30 seconds for rebuttal from each team. I will go first. Okay, so one, the panties. If people go watch this scene, she has a nightgown on and she's taking her panties off after she is fully clothed in the nightgown, right? She's hiding herself from him, essentially, one. Two, Archie definitely has it in him because when Wanda comes on to him, suddenly he's all fire in the loins, right? So it's there if somebody wants to unlock it. She clearly does not want to. I rest my case.
My final closing statement is he obviously married her to better his financial standings. He is a lower class. We know in the UK and in England that status, it's you feel it. People are aware of their status and where they rank in society. He leveled up. Maybe that's how he became a big-time barrister. Maybe it was loveless from the beginning. Maybe it was his point. But he seems to want the bad girl, something different. Maybe that wasn't her. Maybe that's not what she didn't sign up for. She's got her daughter. She's like, hey, be the husband. Talk to her. She's trying, but at this point, she's just turned off and cold, and I don't think we can blame her for that.
All right, everybody, go to Instagram, Shat the Movies, and give us your vote on whether Archie needed to set his wife free or Wendy is an asshole.
It's confusing. I think you got to ask, who's the asshole? Is it Wendy or Archie?
Who's the asshole? Archie
Who's the asshole? Yes.
Both is not an option. Who's the bigger asshole?
Yeah. Spoiler alert, it's Archie.
Okay. Well, the animal-loving Ken repeatedly tries to kill the heist's only eyewitness, the elderly Eileen Cody, but each time he accidentally kills one of her dogs. The last doggy death gives Mrs. Cody a fatal heart attack. Expecting to be freed with the witness dead, George tells Ken the location of the diamonds. Otto tortures Ken for that information, eating Ken's pet tropical fish one by one and leaving Ken's favorite, named Wanda, until last. Ken divulges that the diamonds are at the Cathcart Towers Hotel, but he does not know that Wanda has the key.
So, Gene, early on, we see that Otto is portrayed as an Anglophobe, which he obviously is. He's got an issue with the British. He is gung-ho America. He thinks they're the best. He's going to tell everybody how stuffy he thinks they are. And in my limited experience, I've been to London twice now. I've learned that no one dislikes the British more than the British. I am a fan of John Oliver, and he makes fun of himself. He makes fun of the British sensibility and their type of humor and the way that they act. And in the movie here, they mention that most Britons, they're like handcuffed by fear. They have a fear of embarrassment, doing anything which could be seen as wrong in a social setting or saying something wrong in front of somebody else. You've spent more time in London, in England, in Britain, in the 400 movies we've seen. Does this seem true? Are they really this uptight and like emotionally constipated? Or I don't even know how to put it.
I don't claim to fully understand the English, but I think the clue that I got from living over there is their class system is far more static than ours. You mentioned Archie want to kind of move his way up. That's not typically a thing the English would do, again, in my estimation. Americans, they by and large see class as fluid, right? Upward mobility is like a birthright. It's desirable to Americans. Whereas for the English, it's much more static. Americans see themselves, as they say, as millionaires who are temporarily impoverished, right? It's just, you got to have that one break, that one idea, work your way up until the fact that you get what is rightfully yours, the millions of dollars, and you can live in lap luxury. The English, on the other hand, the working class is proud to be blue collar. They're proud to dress that way, to act that way, to hang out with other blue collar people. And they sort of look down on the white collar folks and vice versa. The higher up you are, it seems, the more restrained you're expected to be. So as a barrister married to a rich woman, right, Archie is he's stuck in a box, like socially, like he's got some expectations. Whereas Ken, let's say, who lives in this tiny apartment and is just a crook, he could be a little more carefree. And I think that's why you see that variety of different English characters. But by and large, are they more emotionally constipated? I think outside of the realm of the Premier League, yeah, they kind of are.
Another one we did, was in London, but we did the Full Monty. Where we commented on that the workers seem to always expect the worst. And then when it happens, it's like, oh, that's what we expect. Like if you look back to like World War II or before, the keep calm and carry on. Yeah. That was like, oh, they're bombing. Oh, keep calm. Just carry on. Like they're very, very
stiff upper lip.
Yeah, very, very. But I wish we got more because other than, let's say, the Long Good Friday, our exposure to them in film, they're very limited. There's about like 5 or 6 stereotypes we get. We get like the stiff upper lip, the gentleman or the lady. We get the eccentric aristocrat. We get the Cockney rebel. You're thinking like Jason Statham in Snatch. Evil masterminds. You hear a British accent, you think potential 007 mastermind. We get the butler servant or the Notting Hill, the quirky, romantic, awkward lead. There's so much more they could offer. English filmmakers, show us a different side. But Gene, the movie here in terms of plot, the screenwriters usually talk about an A story and a B story. For this movie, I think the A has to be a combination of like the jewel heist and then into the Wanda Otto manipulation. And the B is Archie's midlife crisis. They throw in a C. And the C story, which sporadically jumps in to break up the other two, is my favorite. It is Ken's attempt to silence the old woman, the witness, who saw them driving away from the heist. And Ken is stuck. He's an animal lover, but he has to go out and take multiple attempts to kill this woman who has 3 little, like, what are those, like Yorkies? What are those dogs?
Yep.
Each attempt ends in the death of one of these little dogs in worse and more horrific ways that had me smiling. The Doberman Pinscher that's released and runs off, and he just sits there, his face. They drop a safe on one. And you think it's going to be comedy. We're not going to see any blood. When the police show up, there's a pool of blood underneath this safe that's leaking out. I could have watched 35 minutes of Ken trying to kill this woman and the dog and the mishaps more than us getting back and forth with Wendy and Archie and back and forth and trying to seduce each other. And then Wanda, give us more of that physical comedy. And I think the movie would have been better.
I'm going to disagree on this one. First of all, Ken's Canine Massacre, it happens in the wrong order.
Canine Massacre.
Right. We have 3 doggy deaths, okay? Car runs over dog. Dog is crushed to death. Dog is snatched up by another dog, okay? The order, as far as comedy and horror goes, it should go clearly dog run over, because that happens pretty regularly. Dog crushed, which is rare, and you do get to see the blood. But dog snatched up by other dog, like nobody sees that coming. Maggie the Rottweiler, she's running off with, which like in sped up film with what is clearly a stuffed Yorkie. It is goddamn hilarious, and that really I think would have been like the final straw there, right? But more of this, I don't know. I appreciated the amount of, as you call it, sexual hijinks between Archie and Wanda. Okay, these were the best scenes in the movie. There's a scene where she's at his house, the Lockett scene, right? His wife and daughter, they get a flat tire, they return. She's hiding. You're like, how the hell does she get out of this situation? And Otto pops up, right? Otto intervenes. There's so much happening. It's a room that's like what, like 10 by 10? and there's like 5 people in the room. The timing, the reactions, everything has to be perfect to make the scene work, where there are people hiding, there are people looking, there are people drinking, there are people trying to grab things. Or when you see the scene where Archie and Wanda are about to screw at the Riverside Flat, right? You got the Thames, beautiful backdrop, right? And they're in bed and things are getting a little steamy. And then Otto just right outside the window with a fucking stethoscope, like listening in on them. All these sets, they're so smart. The actors are navigating them perfectly. And that was the peak of the comedy in the film to me.
Well, I didn't need more dog deaths. I didn't need a dog apocalypse. I just enjoyed seeing the conflicted nature of his soul. Each time that he's trying to protect animals and it results in the death, that finally when he does the last one and he cackles wearing his eye patch and the badge of wounds from his multiple attempts, that I thought was funny.
Well, testifying as a defense witness at George's trial, Wanda incriminates him to keep him in jail. Promising less prison time, Archie asks George about the diamonds and learns of Otto and Wanda's complicity, and that Ken knows the diamonds' location. He sees Wanda fleeing the court and shunts her into his car. With his career and marriage ruined, Archie resolves to cut his losses, throw in with Wanda, steal the loot, and flee to South America together. So Big D, you talked about this cast being known to you. Outside of A Fish Called Wanda, my primary exposure to John Cleese has been Monty Python movies and Monty Python TV episodes. And love them or hate them, you have to acknowledge that they are a bit more absurd, right, than A Fish Called Wanda. It's a little more grown up. And so this movie gave me a chance to really pinpoint what makes John Cleese so funny. And it comes down to the character of Archie Leach, right? Perfectly written, probably by Cleese, as a distilled version of most of the characters that he plays, right? You always start with this uptight man. He's attempting to embody English propriety. And then you start to see it kind of chip away with unexpectedly improper behavior, like, singing in Russian and hanging out in your underwear, right? He doesn't start off as a crazy, horny barrister, right? He just seems like a guy who's kind of has a sad life. He's just going through, sticking to the law, the letter of the law. But Wanda comes along, she unlocks it, and then we see that stripping naked, the dancing around, the speaking Russian. And then we get to this like upside down apology, and you see the swing between that wild man Archie and that meek kind of proper Archie. And it culminates in that upside down apology is given to Otto. And it's so perfect.
But again, we get the perfect representation of the proper way that the English should apologize, for this ridiculous scene. And I wrote you and I said, I need to memorize this so that I can drop it one day on somebody, that if I accidentally one day besmirch someone, if I say something that offends them and they get upset, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be like, I do offer a complete, not a retraction. The imputation was totally without basis in fact, and was in no way a fair comment, and was motivated purely by malice. And I deeply regret. And keep in mind, he's upside down.
Yeah,
he's moments away from death. There's people watching, and he continues. I regret any distress that my comments may have caused you or your family, and I hereby undertake not to repeat any such slander at any time in the future. Now that shit is funny. Like you're right. Regardless of the situation he's in, he's sticking to what he knows. He's staying true to the character, and it was hilarious.
So we are here in election season, Big D. It is an election year, and we've seen politicians kind of go back and forth on their old positions, repositioning themselves to get favorable votes. I ask that of the listeners. Understand that I am just a man, and that my opinions and stances are malleable. Try to follow me here. I'm about to reverse an opinion that I shared many episodes ago about actors playing actors. And so historically on this podcast, I've been annoyed when actors star in comedies where they play actors. I think you and I kind of share that thought, right? They feel so self-indulgent and gross. I think like Steve Martin does this a lot, right? Where he is an actor playing an actor, and Bowfinger, great example, right? Where an actor or a director, and isn't Hollywood strange and isn't it funny? And let us show you what it's like. Ha ha. But A Fish Called Wanda, it gave us something different. We had good actors. I think we all agree this cast is great, playing non-actors who are trying to act their way through a con job. And whether it was Jamie Lee Curtis's fake crying, or everyone trying to conceal their relationships, or stifling shock, trying to elicit sympathy, I think that Jamie Lee Curtis, John Cleese, and Kevin Kline all were playing these roles where they were forced to act and were all very bad at it. And that in itself had me laughing.
But there has to be another answer here, because that's the simple one that we would say looking back. But he was nominated and won an Oscar.
Yeah.
There has to be something in the time in 88 that was going on that made this more artsy or maybe more nuanced.
I think Otto is just such a good character. I mean, I would put him up there with my favorite characters of the 80s after seeing this movie.
It could also be the fact that he is stellar. He's excelling and everyone else is underperforming. Other than Wanda, I think she gives a good performance, but like you said, there's got to be some reason. At the time, people thought $188 million, Gene. This isn't Nuns on the Run. This is they're giving performances that were exalted, that were getting people to the theaters.
And I think we should consider that in our wipe scores. While Archie unties Ken, Otto steals Archie's car with Wanda in it. Archie and Ken set out for Heathrow on Ken's moped. With the diamonds recovered, Wanda double-crosses Otto and knocks him out in an airport broom cupboard and reluctantly boards her flight to Rio without Archie. Otto recovers and rushes to the tarmac where he is confronted by Archie. But Ken runs over Otto with a steamroller as revenge for his fish, and Archie joins Wanda aboard the plane. Covered in encrusted cement, Otto clings outside the aircraft window until he's blown off during takeoff. An epilogue relates that Archie and Wanda were married in Rio, had 17 children, and founded a leper colony. Ken became Master of Ceremonies at SeaWorld, and Otto became Minister of Justice for South Africa. So this is a movie like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and other 80s movies where there is no real good guy, right? And I understand that Ken, Otto, George, and Wanda, they're all crooks, okay? These people among them, they have robbed a bank. They have caused several car accidents in London. They've killed dogs and an old lady, and they've lied to pretty much everyone they've encountered. But Archie, not one of the crooks, he isn't much better. Right? This guy has violated court ethics. He has cheated on his wife. He has double-crossed his client, George, and he's exposed himself to children, okay? As the movie is drawing to the close, we see that this is the direction that's going. Archie and Wanda are going to fly away and live happily ever after. And I started to wonder, are we supposed to be rooting for these two? Like, they're bad people. And other than that, they've failed to charm me. Like, they haven't won me over. So seeing them win, it wasn't funny at all. And if anything, I just kind of wanted everybody to lose because they're all awful. So Big D, I was wondering if you had to rate them, who's the worst of the bunch? For me, it's Ken is the worst, then Wanda, then Archie, then Otto, and then George, oddly enough, the mastermind behind the crime. He's kind of the least bad.
Okay, I need clarification here. Are we saying the worst as in who I like the least, or the person who does the worst things?
Yes. Yes. The latter.
The latter. I think I got to go Otto.
Is the worst.
I think Otto is the worst. Yes. Okay. He's unstable. He's violent. He's obsessive when it comes to Wanda. He's a bad dude. You know, he's done a lot of bad things. I think next is Archie. He's oppressed his wife for many years. Like you said, Gene, he doesn't mind saying, okay, we can have sex, but we can't talk about the case. The rules don't apply to him. And I think he's in a position of power. He's held to a different standard. Better than him, I think Wanda, you see what you get, right? But the best character to me, I think Ken. Ken's loyal. Ken is if I had to trust someone, I think it'd be Ken. Ken didn't want to kill that old lady. He just wanted to make an attempt that nature would take its course. He never killed her. Her death was secondary. It was a residual effect of the dogs. So I don't think he was the worst.
But killing her he made a bet on it. He was trying to kill her.
Because he was embarrassed, because Otto was pushing him. Otto said you're not capable of it. He was trying to prove him wrong, but he was horrified at what he did.
So, no, he was horrified because he killed the dogs. You're saying that when he released the Rottweiler, when he tried to run her over, and when he tried to drop the safe on her, none of those were intended to kill her? No, just incapacitate.
Just incapacitate. Yes. But okay, I'm going to add one to that. Wendy. Okay. Wendy's the best. Wendy's stuck by her vows.
She's not a part of this. Wendy's fine.
I don't care. She's not fine. You don't think she's going to bear the scars of this whole incident, Gene?
No, she's never going to trust another man. She's not a morally bankrupt person.
I'm glad you said that. Everybody who's going to go vote on our poll, remember that Gene said that.
You can be an ethical person and still be an asshole.
I liked Wendy, but I want to talk about one last thing here, Gene. London as a whole. I don't think this film is flattering. There's lots of garbage. The city looks a bit dingy. You talk about the backdrop on the River Thames. That shit looked like a dribbling brook with trash in it. People are throwing food in. It looked rough. I don't think this was an homage, a love letter to the city. But if I can make one more request for our British filmmakers, if you're going to make one that has more characters than the typical 5 to 6 stereotypes I've listed, please give me a decent high-speed chase. We got another one, Gene, here. This was like Nuns on the Run, where we're expected to get excited about, like, in that it was I think it was a Volvo station wagon. Here, I'm gonna list to you some of the Fast and Furious cars that we got. We got a little Austin Metro. We got a Bedford Ha. We got a Chrysler Alpine. We got a Ford Cortina. And the only majestic beast, Gene, you know what I'm going to say, the 72 Lincoln Continental.
It's gorgeous.
When we saw this hulk of American steel and chrome rumbling down the streets of London, fuck, that is a proper vehicle. That is something that you want to go on a high-speed chase to the airport, to Heathrow. But then we had to get the little British angle. And you said it was a moped. I thought it was like an 80cc. Oh, it actually is. It's a Honda. It's a 1986 Honda H100. That's a 100cc bike. Other than James Bond films, are they not capable of high speed? I mean, Gene, we get a slow speed steamroller that's going to run over poor Otto. That's the limits to British sensibility.
You know, Big D, you got to make up your mind, because one week you're saying, I don't want Nicolas Cage in a speedboat. And the next week you're saying that you need better vehicles and better chases in your movies. This one ended quickly, just like you like. It wasn't too far-fetched, just like you like. I do wonder, to English listeners, why is it that your chase scenes suck so badly?
It does.
What's going on over there? I know the 80s were bad in England. I mean, you had Margaret Thatcher in charge. Like, the shit was not great, but like it's beyond just the 80s. This is a constant in your films.
Maybe there's something about the British persona, you know, that they like the rules. Yeah. They don't want to offend. They don't want to do the wrong thing. Maybe they follow road rules. To the point where a high-speed chase would have to involve following traffic signals.
It's my kind of country. All right, Big D, now's the time in the podcast where we give our wipe scores for A Fish Called Wanda. Our wipe scores are where we're telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's when you have wonderful bones, great eyes, and dress really interestingly. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a film. It's when you're a pompous, stuck-up, snot-nosed, English, giant, twerp, scumbag, fuckface, dickhead, asshole, and a vulgarian. Big D, we'll start with you. What is your wipe score for A Fish Called Wanda?
Gene, I think it's a 1.75 wipe movie. I think the performances are good. But to answer a question you asked earlier, who are we supposed to root for? It's a formula we've seen before. It's the endless double crossings. There was nobody who we could pull for. Great performances, but I wanted at the end, I expected there was going to be one last betrayal, and we're going to see that maybe Ken or maybe maybe Wendy somehow would end up on top going with the diamonds. It's a small complaint. But if you had given us somebody to root for, somebody to pull for, it might have pushed this movie over the top for me. But cast was funny, competently filmed. Nothing bad I could say about it. And we got to see some handsome actors and actresses. So 1.75 wipes.
Yeah, when you think of 80s comedies, A Fish Called Wanda doesn't normally spring to mind, but I've got to say that it was funny to me in my 20s. It was funny to me in my 30s. It's still funny to me now in my 40s. I think it's among the better comedies that we've done. Is it flawed? Yeah, but there's not a lot I could find wrong with it. I would go 1 wipe. And so between the two of us, we've got an average wipe score of 1.375 wipes for A Fish Called Wanda.
I'm immediately having remorse.
Why is that?
I don't know, because I started thinking of Nuns on the Run. I started thinking of... I'm wondering if I'm too... Shit, is it better? Fuck.
Than Nuns on the Run?
No, I'm saying, is it better than 1.75 that my expectations, it's being tarnished.
Let's take a look at what your 1.75 scores are here, shall we? I'm curious. Personally, personally curious here. Let's see. To you, a 1.75 wipe movie would be One Crazy Summer, Crush Groove, Halloween 4, If Looks Could Kill, starring Richard Grieco, Bad Boys, not the Martin Lawrence ones, but the other Bad Boys, True Romance, The Final Countdown, and Robot Jocks.
Oh,
so that's where you are on 1.75.
I mean,
but were you to go down a step, you'd be going into Groundhog Day territory, and if you're going up a step, you'd be going into like the Goonies.
No, I think 1.75 is good. It's not my cup of tea, but
I mean, I see what you did there.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 1.75 is fine. It's serviceable. Sorry. So I appreciate you, John S., but serviceable.
There you go, John. Serviceable. All right. We have an email this week from Bill. Speaking of serviceable movies, he says, "Hey, Shack crew, I love the pod. I've been a fan ever since I heard your Caddyshack episode, and I've been hooked ever since. I was wondering if you have reviewed the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie. If you haven't, I would love to commission it someday. I'd love to hear your takes and reactions to this cult classic. Keep up the great content. Best, Bill."
Is that an actual question? Yes. That's perfect. We have a history with video game movies. This is wilder than any of them. If you go back and you look at some of the screenshots, I think it's Dennis Hopper is the villain.
Mm-hmm. Bob Hoskins is Mario.
And then you all John Leguizamo.
Leguizamo.
Yes, isn't he like Puerto Rican? What is he? As Luigi? I think. Liz, how do you pronounce it?
He is.
I'll pronounce that better now.
He's Colombian.
It's an interesting cast, and it looks wild. I've not ever seen this.
All right, so that's a big yes. Look for that to come up on our schedule. 1993's Super Mario Brothers. And speaking of our schedule, Big D, what's coming up next week?
Gene, next week, Porter is a thief betrayed by his wife, Lynn, and his partner, Val. When he is shot in the back, literally after a heist, slowly Porter recovers from his wounds and begins to search, intent on recovering his share of the money they stole together. With the aid of prostitute Rosie, Porter captures Val, but still cannot find his cash. For this, Porter will have to challenge an imposing crime syndicate called The Outfit. Commissioned by Jeremiah W. And Gene, this is another movie I've seen. I don't remember much more than the alley scene. Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, but it's an iconic actor, a memorable film, so it'll be interesting to see how it holds up. It was a hit at the box office, $161 million.
Yeah, I know this is considered older Gibson, right? So this is after Braveheart. He's got a few wrinkles on the forehead, whatever. But before I'd ever seen this movie, I was always told that doing cocaine basically made you feel like you were Mel Gibson in this movie. And after having seen it now, sounds tempting because he's a fucking badass. I love this movie.
It's like an early version of like John Wick, right? You think it's a revenge tale. You're taking
but
on
they take
the
more of like a noir. They take like a more of a noir angle on it, where he's like kind of like narrating it, and he's a little like cooler than Wick. You know what I mean? Got it, and a little more like a little more John McClane-ish, right? He takes his bumps, he takes his bruises. The cops are leaning on him, the bad guys are leaning on him. I don't know. It's got an interesting sense of humor to it that I don't think John Wick necessarily has. But anyway, spoiler alert, Jeremiah, I really like this movie and I can't wait to do it.
I hope maybe we get something better than a moped chase.
Yes, that's absolutely true. Well, thank you, Jeremiah, for your upcoming commission. Thank you, John S., for commissioning A Fish Called Wanda. Thank you to all our commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media, share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. Email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for the following movie.
I have Mr. Carter on the line.
Put him through.
I have a problem.
There's a man in my office with a gun who says that he's going to kill me if we don't pay him back $130,000 that one of our lieutenants stole from him.
It's 70. Look.
How much is this guy Carter worth to you?
What do you mean?
My money, yes or no?
No.
Not many men know what their life's worth. I do. 70 grand. That's what they took from me.
Oh!
That's what I was gonna get back. They weren't wearing their seatbelts.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Porter.
He said his name was Porter.
Porter? Porter?
Yeah, real Cro-Magnon looking. You're not gonna kill me, are you?
Well, what's his first name?
I don't know.
You.
No, don't allow me.
You look pretty good for a dead guy.
You're the only good thing in my life that hadn't been taken from me. I couldn't stay away.
You're one hell of a mosquito.
To get rid of you, I'll swat you with 130 grand.
It's not 100.
Hey!
Perfect.
Yes, it's all right. He's just killing my alligator bags and shooting holes in my suit. Man, that's just mean. That's mean, man.
Where have you been?
Evening up the odds a little.
This February,
Hubba, hubba, hubba.
get ready.
Everything working out?
Oh, yeah.
To root for the bad guy.
You are crazy. That's why I love you.
You signed your own death warrant for $130,000. What is it? The principal or something?
Stop it, I'm getting misty. And tell him it's 70, will you?
Mel Gibson. What do you mean it's only 70? It's only 70,000? Well, my suits are worth more than that. Payback.
Careful, boy. He might bite you back.